Hey BBs, it's Plastic, and today I'm back with you guys for another video. Today's video, I really just want to ghoul chat with you guys and talk about the idea that reboots in doll brands specifically are never as bad as people seek them out to be, and that a lot of the time is a lot of nostalgia baiting. I feel like recently with Monster High G3, there's been huge hate trains around the new generation, and it really makes me sad as an enjoyer of Monster High and of the G3 lineup. It's so sad that people don't give these dolls a chance, and I think a lot of the time when we're going into a reboot, people don't give new things a chance like at all, and that's perfectly okay to enjoy the original version of something, and that's fine because a lot of the times when something's being rebooted, it usually means that the first generation or the first version of this item was so beyond successful that even though it dwindled down later on in the years, they still think that there's okay, like this could still be good again if we just revamp it, redo it, and give it a new life. I think that's a really, really something that's obviously being made because these reboot dolls are made to sell money. They're made to, create a whole new fan base and a whole new generational fan base and everything. So when we talk about like reboots, I don't think they're coming out. I mean, sometimes they are just for like cash grabs, but like in like the specific of the Monster High stuff, I think it's not. It's obviously like it's a company. A company's making this stuff like a company. Like it's a business item. Like it's not like for free. Also, just means that like there was such a good thing in the first version that they want to redo it, and it's perfectly okay to only like the G1 of Monster High. It's perfectly okay to only like the G1 of Bratz. And I do think it's really, really cool that you can enjoy the first version of stuff, and it's really, really cool that if you only like the first version of Monster High, and it's okay to only collect them for nostalgia, and it's okay to, only watch the movies for nostalgia, and that's fine. But a lot of people recently have been bringing into this G3 thing that it's ruining their childhood and stuff. And baby, like if your childhood is being ruined by some new Monster High dolls in a webisode and a Nickelodeon show and some queer representation, your childhood is already bad. Like I don't know what to tell you, like babes, like let's keep it real. Like uh, Pink Laguna is not going to ruin your childhood memories. Like, I promise you that G1 is sticking around. It has not gone anywhere. They are flooding Mercari. They're flooding eBay. Those dolls and that media is still available to y'all, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. There is also many versions of Monster High in specific and Bratz where they're changing the demographics to an older audience, so that means you are still in mind for something. I know it's not the same as G1, but it's also been, 10 years since you probably bought a G1 doll. And it's really funny when people who don't even collect the Monster High dolls, who haven't even kept up with them since like 2012, talk on this subject of this new G3 thing because it's like, baby, you do not have any Monster High dolls in your collection. You have not bought a Monster High doll in years. You don't think about Monster High. You only are talking about it now because it's being brought up again. That now that it's an aesthetic, now that it's an e-girl, now that it's goth thing, and now that it's Y2K bling bling, you think it's like you have the rights to discuss about it when you have not been in the fan base for years. You have no like care about the dolls, and it's fine to talk about and reminisce about doll lines you used to love and doll lines that you used to, cherish as a child. But when you come into these spaces and just completely make the fan base toxic, there's a whole subgenre of Monster High collectors right now who are just horrible people to talk to because they are very set in their ways. And like, that's fine. Again, I get the G1 thing, and I totally think it's fine to only prefer those ones. But when you're just fighting with people online for hours and hours and hours and days upon days and days, and it's been like months, are we giving it up soon? I think it's a really big issue when you cut yourself off to enjoying something new because it's not the exact same as the old one. The old one is failing for a reason. There was a lot of issues with Monster High, and people kind of fail to acknowledge that when it comes to their beloved Ejaculora, and that these dolls were not selling like they used to. They were kind of getting stale, and even the G2 reboot, while it had a lot of issues, it also did have some strengths. I know I loved the new bodies. I loved how sturdy they are. I have a G2 Laguna who I love to hold just because she doesn't feel very flimsy. And usually when, again, something's being rebooted super quickly, like when the brand is still active in, like, the first gen, like, again, Monster High kind of ways, even Bratz, where there's an issue, like, they're not selling, they're not doing like they used to do, there needs to be a new life breathed into them, and I think that's good. But I also think there's good and bad reboots, the kind of talking about the Monster High G2, I don't want to talk too much about G2, because that's very, like, ooh, it can go either or in terms of my brain, at least, I think. I personally don't mind G2 as much as I won't buy all the G2 dolls. Like, there's only a very few specific G2 dolls that I would want in my collection, but a lot of people just make that like it's like the worst thing in the world that again like try to like ruin their lives, but like it's not that serious in my opinion. And I think when we're talking about a reboot, I think it's really, really important to define for yourself what a reboot is and what makes a reboot good. Because personally, for me, I think it's really, really important to fix the issues again that were created in the G1. In terms of Monster High, I'm happy that the new Gs, the new gen has better diversity in terms of body, because the bodies for G1 were very flimsy. Again, I just talked about that, but these just feel much sturdier. And even just besides the sturdiness of them, I love the different representation within them. I love that Frankie's taller and Dracula is short and a little bit plus size, not fully plus size, but has thicker thighs. And even that like little bit of thicker thighs had a lot of this fan base in shambles over it. And it was so again disheartening to see and everything because it's not that far from real people. That body is very unrealistic as it is. It was just very, very sad to kind of see that on Twitter one day. But I just love the new bodies with Monster High. I also love that they don't use glue to seal their hair anymore. I think it's a really, really strong thing. They also have been doing a lot of cool things just with Monster High in general recently, where they all have their own specific music videos. The web episodes are 30-minute, like they're like 12-minute episodes, but like it fills a block. So like they're longer episodes that have better plot. Not it is better, I guess, better subjective to the viewer and everything, but like they have more thought out plots, I think, in like the just like the webisodes. The animation's even better. They're partnering up with Nickelodeon to make a stronger reboot. They have a live action movie which actually was not as bad as it could have been. The music is really good in Monster High G3. There's just a lot of positives about this thing, and that again, kind of going back to what makes it good for me is that there's the same passion that it was for G1, like the same, not the same designs, but like the same like creativity, the same quality, if not better quality, the same like just passion. The team has to be completely in love with the doll line to make it work for me, to make the reboot good for me. And there definitely are versions of bad reboots where I feel like, not to throw Bratz under the bus, but like during the Rock Angels era, which I'm gonna call it that, where they were mainly pushing like Dolls Kill collabs and like weird phone case collabs and like hair, and like it was like totally far from the base of what Bratz is to me as a collector. I love Bratz for the dolls. That's the main thing about the reboot. And something that I really, really appreciate for Monster IG3 is that while they're not really promoting the dolls, which is a big issue in my opinion, they are still the main focus of the reboot is the dolls. Where I feel like sometimes a doll reboot isn't really even focusing on the dolls; it's focusing on like the merchandise, which is very bizarre to me. Which makes a bad reboot in my brain. Is to not focus on the dolls, but focus on your weird collaborations with like designer brands, like Shore Babes. So like that's personally my thing is that when I see a reboot, I want the dolls to just be amazing. And it doesn't matter how much they fit in. I do want them to fit in with my older collections. Like I think every line of my Monster High dolls can fit in with each other. They on the shelf, they won't look drastically different. Where in terms of Bratz, if you hold up like a 2001-ish Brat next to a 2015 Brat, you get completely different dolls. Like they don't even look like they're from the same brand. I know that Bratz 2015 line was very hit or miss, and I think it did have a lot of hits in there as well. Like again with G2, but I understand why it was really, really criticized heavily with fans because the proportions and the stylization is so very differently. But in terms of fashion for the 2015 Bratz dolls, I think they were not that bad. Like they had the encapsulation of fashion trends like the Bratz dolls did. But even like the proportions were just very drastically different, which I can never see having a 2015 Brat next to my OG ones because they don't just like look good together. I feel like that like Monster High, like the G2 and the G3 and all the gens can kind of sit on the shelf together and look very cohesive. I think a big thing about reboots is having the doll line and the universe stay consistent, having the universe like even like the show and the media and stuff, having it stay like as exciting as it could be. You know what I mean? That's my favorite thing about any sort of reboot is continuing that cohesiveness. But I also think it's really, really cool that specifically for Monster High that they are able to now with a different time period because I don't want to say that it was excused for their queer representation to be completely like gone. But I think it's really important that they're able to fix that issue of the lack of that. And this new G3 that we're already getting Cleo in, Frankie to start dating potentially, and that Frankie's already non-binary and we already have all these other queer people on the team, it's really really cool that they are able to go back and fix their issues and make that diversity that they never were able to do in the first place. I think that's what's really 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 important to me, just in terms of that. And I think it's really really cool that they are able to do that. And it's really upsetting that when people go online and they just don't like it because it doesn't fit their narrative, that it doesn't fit their personal headcanon. So that's definitely disheartening that queer people, when it comes from queer people themselves, it makes it even worse. Especially with the terms of, Frankie being non-binary, where people are still misgendering them and they're still being weird about it, because I think it's good that dolls and doll lines can represent these stories that aren't complex, but people make them out to be. And I think it's a really, really bold move of Mattel and Nickelodeon to do these queer storylines and to make them where they're not wrong, where they're not like adult collectors, that they're not like limited to a certain amount of fans, and like they're available for children to understand themselves better. And that there are a lot of queer children who resonate with Monster High, because Monster High was always a place where you were, no matter your differences, you were able to fit in somewhere. And I think that whole message is very queer coded in itself. So seeing them fix those issues and make direct diversity and direct representation is so beyond important, and it's something that we should celebrate rather than try to pick apart and decide that everything's not meant to be. And I think it's really really important again to differentiate the G1 and G3 of something, or the not specifically G3, but like the old gen and the new gen. It's very very important to differentiate those with each other, because not everything's going to stay the same. A lot of characters will continue to change and continue to evolve with different kind of, I guess, times. Like the times are gonna change, and I think it's important that doll brands do that with them. And I really do. I think that Bratz did a really really good job at making Roxy and Nevra I guess a queer relationship, and that they're able to do that. That's really really cool. And I do wish that wasn't like a play line, like a collector doll set thing, and I wish that they were able to come back and do that for like a kid thing, because MGA has not always been the best with queer representation. I don't think they've really had any of it besides Roxy and Nevra. So just in terms of that, I think it's really really important. And also in terms of like other diversity with Monster High, I think it's really cool that Laguna's Honduran now. I think it's really really fun that we're adding pre-existing characters and giving them different backgrounds, because I think it's just important to continue to evolve a world, and that creating a new character that would be a Honduran and keeping Laguna Australian, like who cares? Like no one's gonna really connect with a new character. I feel like maybe they will, and maybe they'll start adding new characters and like eventually, but like the main cast should be as diverse as possible. But with all of this, I also think that it's important that reboots are allowed to be criticized as much as the older ones were. There definitely are a lot of things that I don't personally prefer about the new ones. Like I don't love the new boxes, I will say that. The boxes from Monster High are very boring to me compared to the old ones. You can see like this this is a reproduction. I hit her. This is a reproduction, but like the box is really really cool. How it used to be. I do think there are a lot of issues with the G3 in specific, but like just an example of that. Like it is okay to criticize them with continuing to love them. I think a lot of people don't realize that like you are allowed to have multiple opinions about something at the same time, and they're all true. So while there definitely are good and bad things with anything, I think that's kind of just to say, just in the terms of doll reboots, there's obviously be the good and bad, and not everything is always going to be made for the certain type of person. I think a lot of the people who were riding hard for G1 and during G1 times were children during the time, and obviously as time progresses, the target demographic is not going to be for them. And attention everybody, there are still G1 dolls being made on Mattel Creations for expensive, but there are still G1 dolls in media and merchandise by Hot Topic being made, so it's not like it's thrown out the window and we're just getting pink Laguna everywhere. I think people are being a little bit dramatic, and the G1 does again live on. It's gonna be around for a while, and same with Bratz. Like the generation 1 of Bratz is gonna be here forever. Like there's no abundance of G1 Bratz dolls, and you definitely probably do not have them all. And you probably have not. I mean, maybe you watched all the movies and stuff, but like it'll be okay. It will be okay if Bratz just reproduces dolls. I don't like love that the whole Bratz reboot right now is just reproducing dolls and like boring clothing lines and like weird like but they did like hair dye and like wigs. The wigs were so, oh my god, the Bratz wigs were crazy because it was like just a blonde wig. It was like Chloe, like okay, like a blonde wig with Chloe. Like that's like so revolutionary. Like I'm so happy that Bratz is back for this. I don't mean to be mean to Bratz because I do love them and I'm very grateful for their new dolls, but I think that's like the biggest issue with reboots is when they don't focus on the dolls or like the media or doing anything new. Like if you're not creating anything new for the brand, like besides just doing reproductions like the occasional designer deluxe doll, what are we doing? Like, and I say this out of like love for the brand that I want them to be better than just doing like reproductions. You know, like that's not my thing. But again, trying not to say too much because I don't want to like be mean. But like, hello. But yeah, I just think reboots are a good thing and they're a really cool like thing for original fans. It's never a thing that I'm like, I should be grateful for this because it's a brand or a business idea made by a company to, you know, I have to pay for it. It's not like I'm gracing the grass that the G3 dolls are walking on or anything, but it's just like I'm grateful that someone still views Monster High as profitable. Easiest way to say it is that I'm happy that there's still potential for the Monster High brand, and that I'm so happy that we're getting things that we've been asking for. Like again, this diversity, the stronger builds, the nicer quality dolls, the sometimes saran hair. It's just very very exciting, and especially at like the prices and everything. It's still cool to walk into a Target and find a Bratz and Monster High doll. Like it doesn't feel real at sometimes, and it's like wow, like that's cool. But yeah, thank you guys, I guess, for watching and chatting with me today. It was a lot of fun to kind of talk about this subject, and definitely something that I've been talking here and there about, but it's definitely just time that I kind of make a Google Chat video and say it all together because it's so tiring to go on like even like the Instagram live stream with Monster High from like last Friday or a couple weeks ago. So painful to watch that chat once G3 dolls came on screen and everyone was like, "No!" Like it was like it was crazy. It was a really interesting live stream. But yeah, and we already know that reaction, but like it was just like annoying. Like girl, like we've seen these dolls since like October. It's like actually since like July at this point, August. We know what they look like. Like can we not scream over them? Like hello, but okay, I'm gonna stop talking now, and I love you guys though so much for watching today's video with me, and it was so much fun to again talk to you guys and chat and everything. And I want to know in the comments below what makes a reboot good to you and what you like and dislike about Monster High and Bratz, their new reboots and everything, and what you guys think about that. And would you rather Monster High just be dead and never come back to life, or are you happy with what's come of it and everything? And yeah, again, thank you guys again so much for watching today's video. I love you all so very much. Please have a fantastic night, and I cannot wait to catch y'all out in the next video. I love you all very much. Bye. Bye, y'all.